Good morning. I've been having these experiences lately where people have been telling me what they think of me, and it's been very uncomfortable, actually. Um, I'm now in a conversation around projection and self defense and the things that we do to manage other people's perceptions of us. And this is just a season where my own relationship with that is coming up. And so I'm going to take at least today, I'm at least inspired to speak to something that I have been very judgmental about all of my professional career. So, being judgmental is one of the reflections that's coming back to me about my personality. And just to go back and touch on the shadow work piece, um, when someone presents us with a belief about who we are and how we're showing up, it's really helpful as often as we can to be slow to go into defense mode, self protection. So being slow to go into, but I'm not that way, or that's about you, or things like that. As much as you can, if you can make space in your head for what this person is saying, because chances are there's something about it that is true. So in my case, and this is not my topic, I want to talk about the spa world. That's what I'm going to talk about, but I just want to offer this because I know we're all going through, regardless of what's going on in the world right now, we are all going to be met with projections. We are going to be projecting our beliefs, attitudes, and opinions and preferences onto other people, places, and things, and we're going to be on the receiving end of this with the people that we come across. So I don't remember where I was going with that, but I'll just go back to what's come up for me. So I think this is what I wanted to say. So I've recently been told again that I'm very judgmental. And it's always shocking to me when I hear this because I feel like I grew up watching what very judgmental looked like in action, and I have defended myself against that quality of personality all of my life, which for me looks like I kept my opinions to myself about a lot of things. And I did as much neutrality about other people's actions as I could. That didn't mean that if I disagreed with something, I didn't remove myself from the situation, but that's typically what I feel like I've done in my life, more so than like getting in there and scrapping with somebody about how wrong they are or things like that. Not to say that I've never done that either, but my way of defending against being perceived as someone who's judgmental is that I've kept a lot of opinions to myself. And people have called me diplomatic. They called me that when I was younger. I don't hear that one so much anymore. But I hear that I'm very reserved and all these sorts of things. All of those are also projections and external assessments of my personality. So when this accusation of being judgmental came up recently, I decided to go looking at it again. And what I am able to take ownership of for myself at this point is that that's been one of the scary words that I have not wanted to be applied to me. I have not wanted to be thought of as someone who is judgmental, because in my mind that is it's harmful to other people to be judgmental. What I understand, especially in this situation for me, where this word is coming from, is that judgment is also a form of discernment, and there are some things that are not for us. They're not appropriate for us. Some people, places, things, experiences, they're not a fit for us. So also, judgmental can help us refine things in our experience, and they can help us reach for more for ourselves in our experience. And that's what I want to talk about. So I'm going to talk about the spa. I love the spa, have loved the spa since I saw my first Jason and the Argonauts, Jason and the Golden Fleece, any of those old myth movies. My mother would let me watch those, and for some reason I just loved them. And something I especially loved that I realized when I first got into a physical spa in current day times is the Roman baths and the oiling, the anointing, anything in the Bible about anointing. There was just something in me that knew about that and wanted to know more in this lifetime. Yeah, what I wanted to say in that moment is reincarnation is not the topic here, but I do often wonder where these deep connections with something that we've not necessarily experienced in the life we're currently living, like where that sense of familiarity comes from. So the spa. I started working in a spa. It was my first job that I loved when I was putting myself through school for massage therapy, and this was back in the late 90s. And the spa that I worked in was a tiny little spa. It was a 3-room spa in the back of a salon, and it was one of the most beautifully detailed spas that I had ever experienced. Well, I'm sorry. It was the only spa I'd experienced at that point, but in our area, in the area that I lived in, it was one of the most beautifully detailed spas. And I was just in love with the experience. We had a really nice product line. I was a receptionist, so I got to have my hands and I had access to the entire operation. I got to learn a lot about it. From there, I moved into another spa experience, and this is where I started expanding my own professional love for spa. So what I want to say, because I could talk about spas I have been talking about them for 20 plus years. So what I want to say, and I took notes, spas, if you own a spa, if you manage a spa, understand that you own and or manage one of the most creative professional environments on the planet. And it should be respected as such. Don't be lazy with your spa. Don't be lazy with the linens. Don't be lazy with the details. If it smells like rancid oil, find a way to clean it out. I had that experience, I think, last year in a spa in the area that I live in now. It just smelled of rancid oil. Everything about the human organism, our senses, can be elevated in the spa environment, and they should be. That is an environment where we are creating an experience for people, for humans, that can put us back in touch with our creative power. Don't waste it. What I have noticed about spas over the years is that many spas take the concepts of other spas around. So it's a regurgitation of the menus and services and treatments of the spas around. It's a regurgitation of the product lines around. And there's not a need for it. Even in a franchise setting where people want to cut and paste an experience, there's room for creativity if you would get creative with it. I'll hopefully come back to franchises in a minute because I feel like that's a missed opportunity as well. Actually, I'll just talk about franchises now. I understand it's a cut and paste experience, and the purpose of a franchise, even in the spa world, is to be able to sell the business model to someone else who can just come right in and copy it and reproduce it. What I notice is one of many things missing in a franchise environment is that people who own them don't recognize that the people you're hiring are still creatives. That is one of the primary reasons why estheticians and massage therapists get into the spa environment. And I'm going to leave nail techs and hairstylists in another category. I'm just going to leave them in a separate category for now. The estheticians and massage therapists, energy workers, they went into those fields because they are inherently creative people. So to put them into a dry cut and paste system, yeah, there's going to be a lot of turnover. unless that person has just decided to check out of the creativity and just go into, this is a money making, this is where I make my money, and I'm not really personally invested in it. Which is great on the one hand, because then you have someone who shows up to work every day and they're consistent and they'll be with you for years. On the other hand, you may have someone who isn't willing to try new things, including, selling your new products or stepping into a new SOP that the company initiates. Like, that person may be stuck in the things that work for them and not be willing to expand and try the new things that keep a business going over time. Even in a franchise, at some point, you're going to have to shift that model and let it grow. Putting franchises aside, because I like the boutique spas. That's what I love. And it makes me crazy, because there are beautiful spas out there with beautiful practitioners who are just selling the same shit that everybody else is doing. The same handful of treatments, the same product lines. And it's a waste. To me, it is a waste. So, I would love it if some folks would start getting courageous and start experimenting with some new therapies. Encourage your staff to go to training. So, if you're on staff in one of these places, whether you own the place or not, one of the things that I noticed over the years and experienced, not just noticed and have an opinion about it, but was in conversation with professionals and listened to people explain why they couldn't take training. Because it's too expensive. This is what I would hear from people all the time. I really want to take that training, but it's too expensive. Or, I can't take time away from my business. And it's just like, the disconnect is like, the disconnect was so gaping, I didn't understand how people couldn't see it. You are a professional who provides, I don't want to leave it at a service, but we'll say a service and an opportunity to another human being to come into other parts of themselves, rest in other parts of themselves, explore other parts of themselves, be introduced to other parts of themselves through your work. If you've been on a table, the person doing the work could be just an average practitioner up to a phenomenal practitioner. If you're able to hit that dream state, that quiet, restful state where your mind is, exploring other areas, that's like touching into a creative space. What I want to say is, if you're a professional out there working in your own environment, and I'm gonna stick with the spa, working in a spa inspired environment. If you are a full-on spa owner, the people providing the work need to be staying with training, need to be doing training. And it doesn't have to be the latest technology training. If that doesn't inspire someone, that's not going to be something they're going to sell on the table. And it's a table, it's not a bed. It is a table, it is not a bed. Okay, so if you are a professional and your reason for not taking training is because you can't afford it, that may be true. Maybe you're looking at a $2,500 training and you're not sure how to fit that into your budget. The thing is, we figure out how to fit things into the budget. So if this $2,500, $3,500 training is really calling to you, then figure it out. Maybe it's not this year that it happens. Maybe it's next year. Maybe you write to the company and you negotiate a different payment plan than what's being offered. My point there is, don't give up on the thing that's inspiring you and calling you. There's a reason why it's calling you. I took so many trainings in my early 20s that I did not know how I was going to pay for. And I still get a little bit weary of the stories of people who are like, yeah, I just stepped into it and everything fell into place. But I'm going to tell you something. Sometimes that actually happens. It usually only happens if we're moving towards it, though. If we make the reservation and say we're going to figure out a payment plan, and then the plane ticket falls into place and the roommate falls into place, those things have actually happened in my life. I've had some amazing experiences learning things because I was absolutely undeniably called to participate in something, and then I moved toward it like a fool. If you know tarot, you know what I'm talking about. And life responded back to me in beautiful ways. It doesn't always happen. I've also had to cancel things that I tried to step into, and the pieces were not in place. Do not say to yourself, professionals, I can't afford to do this. I can't take the time away, because that's all you have. You have your techniques, you have your artistry, and you have your time. And it's important to remember that the tools that we learn, the way that we evolve ourselves as practitioners, it requires time and effort on our part. We have to step away from the table and the treatment room in order to replenish ourselves as creatives. So don't let that be an excuse. Do not get in the habit or stay in the habit of shutting yourself down professionally because you are not willing to take the time away, or you are afraid to figure out how to finance something that feels meaningful to you. Okay. For clients, we have an amazing skill set. If you love the spa, if you love body work, if you love healing work, if you love aesthetics, and allow yourself to explore different practitioners, different modalities, you are going to have some amazing experiences. You are going to be brought into contact with parts of yourself that are going to allow you to live your life more fully, to tap into your courage, to develop skills that maybe you've only been thinking about for the past 10 years. It is so important to remember that even though the marketing has us thinking that it's a pampering, passive experience in these places, it's your body. You are responsible for your body and your experience. So when you go to a healer, when you go to a professional, when you go to a practitioner, and I'm using all these words, people have different words for themselves. The public has different words for what they think they're seeing in the professional or the practitioner or the healer. But all those words, depending upon who the person is showing up to offer the services or the treatments, it all comes back to the same thing. But when we bring our bodies to a practitioner, we're responsible for our experience. This is not the time to check out. Now, maybe sometimes your week has been completely exhausting, your month, your year, your life, and you just want to go sleep on someone's table. You can do that. If you're willing to stay awake on some level, if you're willing to be curious about your body, if you are willing to engage that professional and ask them for feedback, ask them for tips, ask them for encouragement, motivation, ask them for perspective on what you're experiencing, you can walk out of that treatment room with a new basket of gifts. But you have to go into that experience understanding that you are the one with the body. It's not that we're doing things to you. We are bringing a set of tools to you and your experience. And if someone's very versatile, they're going to be using a variety of tools. But we don't have your answers. Now, you'll come across some people who do have answers, and there are times when people have asked me to be direct about things, and I may have offered a direct answer, but we don't have your answers. We have a perspective, and we can share a perspective. You are the one that has your answers, and the more present you can stay with the experience that you're having, the more you can gather up in that experience and carry into your life, which is what a lot of practitioners in this field want. They want people to gather up tools and go apply them in their own lives. When I go to a practitioner, my people want to share their tools and their skill sets, but they want me to take those things that I learned with them and apply them to my life. It's my responsibility to apply things to my life. So, I'm just going to check my notes here. Yeah. So I guess just a really quick recap. Spas are one of the most creative environments that we have access to. And it's okay to be different from the other spas in the area. And it's okay to experiment with things, and it's okay to fail with treatments, with services, with staff members. As a staff member, it's okay to fail with a treatment. There's a way to do that, try things out on your friends and family before you try to take it and put it on your menu. Like that's basic stuff. But what I would really like to encourage, I would really like to encourage the spa industry to give itself respect. Respect the industry that you're in. It's a creative industry, and we are touching people. We are touching people's lives. We are touching people's physical bodies, but a lot of us know that we're touching the emotional body, the creative body, the spiritual body, and other bodies that we haven't started talking about in a big way. We're touching the whole human. And when we touch the whole human and then they go back out into the world, the frequency that they experienced in our workspace, they're carrying that back out into the world with them. Regard your space with that kind of respect and love and devotion. My treatment table was an altar. That's how I felt about it. And that's another conversation for another time where I'm coming from. But for those of you who have a devotional practice and can understand that language without it becoming frighteningly religious, this is a lot of what we are offering if we can go to depth with it as a professional. It's a devotional practice. It is a devotional practice. And the spa is the temple. And we are touching the temple bodies of the humans who come into us. Then we send those human temples back out into the world, and they show up in service to their communities, their families, themselves. That is one of the layers of life that we're working on when we operate in these systems. And I would love to see that come into the spa in 2023 and beyond. That's what I wanted to share today. Thanks for listening.